All right, everyone, welcome. We are here for Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am going to share my screen just for a few minutes here in the beginning. And let's see if I can get you out of the way. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
All right, so welcome to Voices That Matter. We are doing a panel discussion on breaking mental health stigma. And we have several panelists here who I will introduce in a minute. But really our focus today is on coming together as a community to help promote, understanding, compassion, and hope about mental health. So my organization is hosting this event. I have coaching and speaking services available. I also do kindness and community projects. So I focus on helping individuals take control of their lives by speaking on wellness, empowerment, and mental health. I offer a series of workshops titled Empower Your Life with Andrea. And I do have kindness initiatives out in the community that I focus on quite a bit. So I will be your moderator today. I have 25 years of experience in behavioral health, 20 years working specifically in a behavioral health hospital. I am currently an adjunct faculty for psychology, and I teach community wellness classes. I'm an advocate for mental health education, suicide prevention, and strengthening our community through connection and collaboration. We also have a chat monitor, Regino Sierra, who I also call Brother Extraordinaire, AKA. And our first panelist is Dr. Judy. I got my glasses, but I forgot to put them on. So Dr. Judy is a licensed therapist, founder of EmpowerMend Wellness Consulting. She is a director and dynamic speaker for more than 15 years of experience serving individuals, families, and community through mental health, education, and leadership. She has a PhD in marriage and family counseling and is deeply committed to inspiring healing, resilience, and personal transformation. She also speaks on emotional wellness, relationship health, and growth through life's challenges. On a more personal note, she enjoys music, singing, is a self-acclaimed vegan chef, and enjoys traveling. Most importantly, she is intentional about meaningful time with her family and friends. So we do have her phone and email available. And I will mention it later, but I also will have some information going out to you all via email. So I will send all of the speaker and promotional partners information out as well. But you're welcome to take any screenshots as we go along. Our next speaker is Sharon Woolfolk. She is actually the president of our local NAMI Kern County organization and a retired probation officer. She graduated from Cal State University, Bakersfield with a degree in public administration. She began her career as a social worker for the county and was promoted to deputy probation officer. She worked with adults and juveniles. She retired in 2001 after 26 years of service. She joined NAMI in 2014 and then was appointed membership chair. So she currently serves as president and is passionate about advocating for individuals with mental health conditions. She is an avid reader and admitted workaholic, and she has been married for 15 years to her husband, Lee. They have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. And our next panelist, Dr. LaChelle Wieme. She is a certified life coach, speaker, and author. She has over 20 years of experience in healthcare. As a coach, she helps high-achieving women overcome burnout, self-doubt, overwhelm, emotional barriers that impact their wellness, personal growth, and performance. So through coaching, speaking, and transformational programs, she combines mindset, neuroscience, emotional healing, and practical strategies to help people confidence, resilient, and lasting change. She is passionate about creating honest conversations around mental health and helping people feel supported, understood, and empowered. And our next panelist is Reenie Michelle, president of I Am Woman. So I have to say, even though she didn't put it in her bio, Reenie is a recently appointed reverend, and I didn't know this was happening. I actually happened to be at the event when it occurred, so that was very nice and very special. So she authored the curriculum for her program, I Am Woman, as well as another program, I Am Free, for addiction recovery. She has spoken at conferences to raise awareness against violence and abuse. After being healed and delivered from depression herself, she continues to help others heal. Her program became international in 2022. She has been in the ministry since 1994. In 2001, she birthed a ministry out of her home, and that is when she authored her book, God's Poetic Words, More Precious Than Bronze. She is a realtor by trade, but more importantly, she chooses to do God's work through obedience in his calling. She's also CEO of Operation Heart and Soul, which helps individuals who need help with homelessness. She's proud parent to 3 sons, 2 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. And so thank you all of our panelists for being here. A few words on resources for everyone to know that 988 is the phone number for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. If you need any sort of emotional support, reach out to that number. It is a national number. As well, there are some resources I will be emailing out to everyone who registered for this class. I'll send this PowerPoint and then some additional resources for everyone as well. And that is it for now on the PowerPoint. And the last couple of things before we get started on the questions, or I'm sorry, on the panel discussion, if you do have questions as we're going along, please drop them in the chat box, and we will have a couple of breaks where we'll be able to address those questions. And I believe that is it. Regina, are you able to close the attendee poll? I do want to mention that I do have an engagement question. So I'm going to ask Regina to drop this in the chat as we go along for everyone to think about how comfortable are you discussing mental health openly with others. So as we go along, you're welcome to drop your response to that in the chat box. And Regina will type that in as well. So how comfortable are you discussing mental health openly with others? All right, let's jump into our first question. So the first question, I'm going to ask Dr. Judy first to respond to this one. What does mental health mean to you? And why is it important for everyone, not just someone who has a diagnosis?
Thank you, Andrea. So I wanted to start maybe by defining some terms so that people don't think I'm making stuff up, right? Mental health, according to the CDC, is not simply the absence of a mental health condition, which I'll get to in a second, but it's also about the presence of like well-being and the ability to thrive. So mental health is a state of well-being that enables us to cope with the stresses of life, realize our abilities, learn well and work well and contribute to our community. For me, I take it as it's our emotional, psychological, social well-being. And it's at any given moment. It's dynamic, meaning that it constantly changes and it fluctuates based on our experiences, environment, relationships, how we think, any stressors that get in the way. So I like to think of mental health as the engine that drives our lives. Everything starts with the mind. Like right now, for example, just pause for a second and pay attention to your shoulders or your jaw. Like, where is it? Is it elevated? Is it, where is it sitting on your body? Do you feel any stress in your body? Okay. All right. So take a deep breath and relax your shoulders. Notice a difference. That's mental health. You just engaged in some mental health practices right now. Our thoughts, our emotions, our stress levels, they don't just stay in the mind. They actually affect the entire body. With one anxious thought, you can make your heart race, your stomach to tighten, you can raise your blood pressure, put your body into fight or flight mode. But on the other hand, with a calming thought or one deep breath, like how we just did, or even a shift in our perspective. It can help your body back into a place of balance and peace and calmness. That's how powerful the mind is. Mental health is wealth. And I truly believe in my heart that we can literally change the world one mind at a time. When we pay attention to our own mental health, we become less reactive, more understanding, more compassionate, not only with ourselves, but with others. And you've heard the phrase that says, hurt people, but healed people can help heal people as well. And so when we learn to take care of ourselves and support ourselves and are caring for ourselves and helping others as well, it creates a chain reaction. And that chain reaction can transform homes, it can transform workplaces, schools, communities, relationships. Um, and really help people to live the way that they meant to live. So why is it important for everyone, not just for those with a diagnosis? Because everyone who has a mind, right, who has a brain, we all need mental health, right? Mental health is for everyone. And the difference between mental health and a mental health condition or illness is that we talked about mental health already, but the mental health condition is really more so an illness or a disorder that affects a person's ability to think, their mood, their behavior, or even their emotional functioning. So that can include psychological disabilities, right? So anxiety, depression, things like that we're familiar with, a significant emotional distress, and our difficulties with functioning everyday life. So just because you don't have a diagnosis doesn't mean that we don't need to care for our mental health. When we engage in activities daily for mental health practices, like self-care, for example, going for a walk, exercising, sleeping when we should be sleeping, things like that, reducing our stress, right? Anything that can improve your stress levels, your heart rate, your ability to function. When we do that, we increase our window of tolerance and we learn new coping skills to kind of help us deal with different things. I can go about this forever, so I'm going to try to I want to like cram everything into 1 second, but you know our ability to handle stressful situations and ability to bounce back, right, back to our baseline improves over time, and it keeps us from being stuck in a stress state, right? So mental health, like I said before, is wealth.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Judy. So my next question I want everyone to think about, but I will ask Sharon first. So Sharon, what is a common misconception that people have about mental health or mental illness that you would like to dispel?
Yes, and I'm going to share my screen while I'm talking. And so NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, when you hear the word mental illness, what do you think about? Just think to yourself while I'm sharing my screen, if I can. Let's take a quick look. And so hopefully you have that thought in mind. Yes. And so mental illness is often, very often surrounded by this word stigma. It's that negative thoughts, it's the negative attitudes, it's discrimination, it's this unfair treatment that individuals experience when they hear that word. And so that makes it very difficult for people to even get the help that they need or even speaking openly about their experiences. And so one of the most common stigma is the belief that mental illness is a personal weakness or it's a character flaw rather than a real medical condition. And so people who are struggling with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, any other mental health challenges are sometimes, and we'll say sometimes, unfairly judged as being lazy. They're unstable. They just are not able to cope with life. And this misunderstanding can lead to shame. It can lead to isolation and this just fear of being treated differently. But in reality, mental illness is a health condition, it's a medical condition, just like heart disease, diabetes, asthma, and it can be influenced by anything. It could be genetics, It could be a brain illness, a brain chemistry, a trauma, stress, or even that lack of being able to socialize with other individuals. And so many people with mental health conditions, they can continue to work, they can continue to care for families, they can contribute to communities while facing these invisible struggles that they have every single day. And so again, it could be anything, but those stigma that can be reduced simply, and I can talk about it later, by the education, by talking about openly, like we're doing today in school, in our workplaces, in our home, wherever you might be, just to openly talk about our experiences. And we can break the stigma that is associated with having a mental illness.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. So my next question is going to be first to Reenie. What language or behaviors can unintentionally contribute to stigma, and what are some healthier alternatives?
Okay, so anything that I share today is my own personal experience. I have a son who is diagnosed with a mental illness. And in the process of me being his advocate, I was having to find a way to relieve the stress that I carry because we live in the same home. And so my way of doing it was through Christ. I am a believer, and the only way that I could manage it was to give it up to the Lord. So what I have done is I have had to find some peace. Number one, being a parent and watching your child go through this, although he's 51, he was diagnosed at 19. I have been through the system. I am his advocate, and I do everything in my power to for him to have a quality of life. I work hard at it. And it's not an easy task, but he's my son and I love him. And so what I had to do was find a way to manage it. Now, as far as stigmas that are attached to his behaviors and even my behaviors, because have this year, although, I don't know if probably everybody doesn't know my story, but I am a survivor of abuse. So with abuse comes a lot of things, PTSD, anxieties, things like that. I've had to, I've been diagnosed with PTSD and severe anxiety disorder. And I could be labeled and, with a stigma of, everything that goes with those types of diagnosis, but I manage it through, and it appears that I don't look like what I've been through. But I had to rely on my family because they understand the illness. They understand what I'm going through. And so a lot of things could have been done. And I'm going to give you a healthier way of handling it. Um, People these days throw that term around or that diagnosis, oh, she's bipolar, but they don't have any medical training or licensing to, give that type of diagnosis. And so a healthier way might be, it, to say, oh, she's living with a behavioral health situation versus, oh, she's bipolar. Although I was not diagnosed with that, but, um, we go through struggles. A lot of times there's a stigma. People say, oh, just pray about it. Or everyone gets sad, or you're overreacting. But those are not ways of handling the situation. A better way might be is I may not fully understand, but I'm here and I care. I'm more open to talking or speaking with someone about what I'm going through if you have compassion versus judgment. And so I formed my organization to help women who have been through at-risk situations of abuse and violence. And what I found, and I say that God gave me the blueprint because I was healed, delivered, and set free supernaturally. One day, just it was gone. And not everybody believes like that, but I do. And all the things that I went through with depression were vanished. I didn't even understand it. It was foreign to me. And so what I did was I received the blueprint and I helped women to understand their worth and their value. I never understood my worth and my value. People could have, judged me for it and used a stigma against me for it. But God was there for me, and this is what I stand on.
Thank you so much, Reenie, for your thoughtful response to that. So I want to ask Dr. LaChelle a question. Through your work as a life coach and consultant, have you encountered individuals who wanted to seek support or treatment, but hesitated because of those concerns about stigma or judgment from others?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that I work with a lot of high achievers who are committed to taking themselves, their business, their profession to the next level. And I think that one of the things that I've seen over and over again with my clients and myself is this fear and shame that we put on ourselves more than anything. Because I think a lot of times we think that I should be able to know better. I should have been able to read the books, listen to the podcasts, have the conversations, and I should be able to figure this out on my own. But a lot of times people don't realize that mental health, as Dr. Judy mentioned, is not just in our mind, it's in our body. And I think that when we don't recognize that, what happens is that fear and anxiety can come up. And when that happens, our body is creating a very, very profound communication to our brain. And it's basically creating a situation where the blood flow that would go to our prefrontal cortex, where our decision making happens, it gets diverted when we're in fight or flight or freeze. And I cannot think clearly. So even if I have all the answers, even if I've read all the books, even if I should know better, my body is literally not able to compute, not able to reason, not able to think my way through it until I can get my body calmed down. And as Dr. Judy mentioned, as she was speaking, allowing the activation of the vagus nerve, allowing for the nervous system to be calmed down, allowing for the mental health and wellness to be considered in our entire body, and allowing ourselves to calm ourselves down allows then for the blood flow to go back to our brain so that we can think clearly and say, okay, I am safe. I know what to do. Now I can try this again. But oftentimes, again, what happens is instead we stay in this fight or flight. We start to shame and guilt ourselves, and we continue to go down this downward spiral because the shame and the guilt creates this propensity for us to have continued anxiety and depression and all the things. And then we continue to stay in this loop. And I can say this, for myself, I think vulnerability and authenticity is huge because this is why we need to have these conversations, right? I think that when we look at people who are high achievers that look like they have their stuff together, oftentimes we don't realize that many of us are struggling with the same things behind closed doors. And I remember back in 2020, as a healthcare provider, as somebody that worked in anesthesia, the pandemic was a very stressful time. And at the time, my podcast was titled the Unstuck Podcast. And friends, I felt stuck. I felt stuck. And here I was, what a hypocrite, judging myself for having this Unstuck podcast where I'm supposed to have all the answers, but I felt stuck. And the moment that I was able to literally record an episode that said, hey, friends, I'm struggling. I am stuck. I might look like I have it all together. I might look like I'm coming to you with all the answers, but I'm not okay right now. And I think that it's when we can allow ourselves to get out of that shame and guilt cycle, when we can allow ourselves to give beautiful attention to our body, our nervous system, our vagus nerve, and allow for ourselves to give ourselves the patience and the compassion that it takes for our mind to catch up, we can start to get where we need to go. But that's what I see with my clients a lot, is that they think that they should know better by now. They should have all the answers. They have all the tools. Why isn't it working? But it's the nervous system regulation that has been completely taken over, and their mind cannot do what a rational mind would do in that state.
Yes, I totally agree. Giving yourself grace and having that vulnerability is probably one of the hardest things, at least it's been for me. So I know that we have a conversation planned soon, and I think that is probably one thing we're going to be talking about.
I love that.
I'm going to jump back to Sharon. So Sharon, why do you think that mental health stigma still exists, even though conversations about mental health have become more common?
And again, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. And so listen, even though we've been out promoting awareness, promoting mental wellness, we've been doing that, that stigma, it still exists because number one, there's a lack of education. People don't fully understand mental health conditions. They may still see it as a weakness, even though they are aware of it, they see it as a weakness. And then there's this fear of this unknown. I can't see what's going on there because the emotions and behaviors, you don't see them, you don't understand them. And so they feel that individuals may be dangerous because, look, they're hearing it over the TV, the radios, they hear the news stories, they see all of those kind of things. Not only that, it could also be my family, my culture. They believe that we should keep it in house, not talk about it, being shamed. And so, again, that person is feeling alone. There is no one who can help me. And so, again, that fear, that discrimination, people not wanting to talk publicly about what's going on with them, both mentally, those things really do impact someone. But again, reducing that stigma, it requires education, open conversations, some accurate, what we call accurate media responsibility of representation, and just an overall view of way we treat our community, giving those individuals hope, knowing that everything will be okay and it's okay to feel.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Both of your graphics have been awesome. Can you email us to me and I will get them out to the audience?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I'll be sending out resources. I want to include both of those. I think they're great. Dr. Judy, I want to jump back to you. What can happen when someone does not receive mental health support or treatment when they need it?
Ooh. Um, when we neglect our mental health, stress can begin to build up, right? In the body and the mind instead of naturally resolving itself the way that it's supposed to. So over time, it can show up in different ways, right? So eating too much or too little, feeling angry, irritable, constantly on edge. You can have a lot of symptoms, difficulties with your sleep, difficulties with connecting with others, and feeling tired a lot, fatigue, pulling away, losing interest from things. So this is just a small list of the things that can happen. It's not an exhaustive list. But a lot of times that people think that mental health is only important when things become severe. But I would argue the fact that it's important before it becomes severe. Because when we don't do this, yes, there are these symptoms that we experience, but we also have physical symptoms that go with it, right? With stress. Our digestion, we have issues with our digestion, like I mentioned before. It can lead to issues with our heart when we're constantly in a state of fight or flight, fighting, right? With anxiety. It can lead to hypertension. And so many other physical things that can happen. Another thing that I really think about is something that we pass down generationally. Very rarely does a person have a mental health condition or even struggling with mental health and has no one around them that surrounds either a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, aunt, somebody, a sibling. They're all connected. And when we don't treat that, we can hurt other people, but we can also pass it down the generation, down our lineage. And that's something that this is where my focus is, right? Trying to stop it as much as we can, or at least to find a good balance. Because when these are unaddressed, it becomes something that we pass down to the different generations. It spreads out into our workplace. We're human beings, we're not robots. It's very difficult, as much as we think that we do this well, it's very difficult to compartmentalize. And so if something happens at home, it's going to show up, it's going to affect how we show up at work. It's going to affect how we interact with our children, with our peers, with our friends, with our colleagues. And so when these things, when they're unaddressed, they don't just go away. We might try to put it under a rug. We have to be intentional about addressing things head on in order for us to be able to overcome the things. And even though it goes away in the moment, it'll show up later on in life. You might find yourself being triggered and responding or reacting to something, not really knowing why, when it's something that happened to you or that you experienced or witnessed earlier on.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judy. You reminded me of something. Because I did used to have a tendency to not want to show emotions. And my husband would say, "You're not a robot."
Yes. Yes, I tell
So
people we're not AI.
we are not robots. Okay. So Reenie, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What influenced your decision to be open about your own personal mental health journey in such a public way? Because I know that you've actually talked about it on social media, which is why I thought of you when I was trying to bring someone in who had some lived experience to be able to share with the audience.
I'm glad you asked that question. Hopefully, I can encourage someone who is not willing to voice their, to have their voice heard. The reason why I did it was because I wanted to take my trauma and make it a testimony. I wanted people to hear what it feels like to be free. And I truly am free. I mean, I have been through so much abuse in 2 different marriages. The first one was very bad. The second one was evil. And I've been hit, punched, kicked, smothered, choked, shot at, all those things. And so I wanted to help women. And the program is for women. I Am Woman is the name of the program, and it's an acronym. Woman is an acronym for worthy of majesty and nobility. Know your worth. Understand that you do not have to live like this. I didn't understand. I didn't know my worth. And I wanted to prevent or shorten someone else's suffering, if it was at all possible, to hear my story. And people relate to me because I have a story, a real story. It's a true story. And they're open, they're willing to actually recover. And so I knew that transparency would build credibility as well. And so, using leadership and vulnerability to be relatable for a successful program. I didn't know that it was going to be successful. It started out as just a page, and it was just to encourage. I'm a poet as well, I write poetry. And so I would put verses on there, and people reacted to it. And so my sister kept encouraging me, you need to do this, you need to do that. I said, who's going to want to listen to me? I've been told all my life, not all my life, because my parents were awesome, in my relationships, that I'm nothing, that I don't matter. So I also had a conviction. I knew that it was my calling. And yes, without sounding too ridiculous, it is successful. We're 99% successful, and we have ways of monitoring the success of the program. And I believe in the word, what the word tells me, and God said that He has nothing but blessings for us. And in order to have a blessed life, I need peace. And I wanted to give whatever I had to others. So I didn't want people to feel like they were alone in their recovery, because I felt very alone. I was wishing and hoping that there was something that I could do to help myself back then. Well, there is something that can help you. If it's not my program, it's something else out there. You just have to be willing to make the change. And I wanted to tell my story before it was told for me, because some people did know my story. Some people knew I was being abused, and I was called stupid for staying in a relationship. It wasn't because I was stupid. I had fear. I was scared. And so I knew that my struggle didn't disqualify me, and shame loses control when it's exposed. Those are the reasons.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I just want to remind the audience, we do have an engagement question. So at any point, if you want to drop this into the chat, how comfortable are you discussing mental health openly with others? So it would be wonderful if everyone shared their answers for all to read. So go ahead and do that if you haven't done that yet. So my next question then is going to be for LaChelle. So how can other organizations in the community, schools or workplaces or churches, what can these places do to help create a safer or more supportive environment for mental wellness?
Honestly, I think that it comes down to the leadership and setting an example. So when I think that people oftentimes confuse vulnerability with weakness when it's really courage, right? To be vulnerable enough to share your story, just like Reenie did, right? And her standing up and sharing her story as a leader gives other people permission and courage to do the same. And I think that oftentimes as leaders, we think that we have to be the ones that have all of our stuff together and that we're supposed to be the pillars of the community. But it's in that vulnerability that we allow for true connection and true leadership. And so I'm going to give you two examples. I'm actually holding the book that was written by my pastor. It's The 4 Keys to Mental Health by Steve Larson. He just wrote this book. And what I love about Pastor Steve is that he was always so open about his sufferings of anxiety and depression. And I think it was Reenie that said, gosh, aren't we supposed to just pray it away? And here he is, a pastor, an amazing pastor, but he's really struggled with anxiety and depression. And his openness allowed other people to be able to share their experiences and to be open to seeking help and allowing us to support one another. I'm also going to share my own experience because if I'm going to claim that vulnerability is the key here, I'm going to be vulnerable myself. So several years ago, my husband and I suffered a miscarriage. I miscarried twins. We struggled having children, went through a lot of fertility stuff, and I found out I was pregnant and then went in for our first ultrasound and the babies were gone. And I remember just really, really struggling. It was a faith journey for me at that point too, but I would find myself just crying out of nowhere. And I'd be driving down the highway and I would just start bawling. And I'm like, this is not me. And I feel like I don't have a control over this, but I felt, just like we were talking about here, I felt like I should know better. And I felt weak. And more importantly, I felt guilty as a wannabe mom, because I felt like if I sought help, it meant that I was putting myself before my baby. And I remember my amazing, oh my gosh, you guys, she was so amazing. My family medicine doctor, she looked at me and she said, LaChelle, I was on Zoloft when I was pregnant. And I got to just tell you guys that gave me the permission to just be like, it's okay to ask for help. And if somebody that I trust tells me that my baby is going to be fine if I take care of its mom first, then everything is going to be okay. And I'm so grateful for her willingness to be vulnerable, her willingness to share her experience so that I can know that I could take care of myself in order to be the best woman, the best mom that I could be. And so to answer your question, I really think it comes down to how are our leaders in the community modeling this ability for us to admit when we need help, to be open enough to say that it's okay if you're struggling, and we're all here to help.
Thank you so much, LaChelle. Can you send me the name of that book? And also, I think you have a book, if you want to send me that too. And I'll send that out with all of the resources that I'll be sending out to the people who registered for the event.
I'd be happy to.
All right. So there is a question open to everyone. So if everyone can answer maybe with a short response so that we have enough time for everybody, because I think this is really the key of what this conversation is about. What can individuals do to encourage more open and honest conversations about mental health? So if everyone has a quick answer that they want to give.
I say understanding. Understand what the person is going through, and they will be more open to share with you.
Thank you, Reenie.
And compassion.
Mm-hmm. And just talking about it naturally, talk about mental health just naturally, and then just listen without judging anyone, sharing your personal experiences, feeling comfortable in your share, and then just learning about mental health, checking in with people, let them know that you're concerned, that you're listening. And look, we don't have to always offer a suggestion, just listen, be respectful, and just allow individuals to share.
Thank you, Sharon.
I would just say to allow yourself to empathize with them in the sense of, do I really have the right to judge somebody that I haven't walked in their shoes? And to just really allow ourselves to give that compassion and empathy that I really don't know what you're going through, but now I'm going to give you the patience to take and to do what you need for yourself. So
Thank you.
Yeah. I love that empathy and really not trying to fix the problem. A lot of times we just need someone that will listen. And I believe that we're designed that way, right? With two ears and one mouth, so that we can listen more than we speak. Um, People are really hurting, and it takes a lot to be able to be vulnerable and to say things. And a lot of times, sometimes there's calls for vulnerability where people, you can sense a person when they're going through something, just noticing the people around you, your family members, and saying, hey, I see that you're a little off, or are you okay? Right? What's going on? And opening that door for communication. Because a lot of times they're telling us, especially young kids, they have temper tantrums, they'll have behaviors, they're slamming, and we may look at it, ah, they're being defiant, right? But they don't have the vocabulary to express what they're going through. And us as adults, we can help regulate that. We can help give them words and meaning to what they are experiencing. And even, especially with children and adolescents, right? I know we're talking about mental health and we're not going to specific populations, but I really want to highlight our babies because I feel like they're very misunderstood. And a lot of times, again, people try to fix it. Oh, just do this or just do that or just stop. And we can just snap out of it. Well, then could snap out of a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Obesity, diabetes, cancer, if it was that simple. But being able to just be open and with open arms, open heart, open mind to hear what they are actually saying. And even sometimes reflecting back to them, hey, I hear you say X, Y, and Z, just to check for understanding and clarity. It really goes a long way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Judy. If that were the case, if we could just snap out of it, you would be out of the job, right? And
I wouldn't
technically,
mind it.
technically, wouldn't that be wonderful? Yes. All right. So I'm sharing my screen. I want to take a couple minutes to thank our promotional partners. So NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, our local organization is Kern County. And thank you, Ms. Sharon, who's one of our panelists. She is the president of NAMI, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to making life better for anyone living with mental challenges. All programs and services are available at no cost. And I am going to give a shameless plug here to say that the walk for NAMI is scheduled for October, and I have a team available. So anyone local, I think, Dr. Judy, I think we need to talk. I have a team for the walk, and so definitely make sure to email me if anyone is interested, local here in Bakersfield.
Okay, let me just put in another plug while we're on NAMI. And so
All right, let's go back.
Our annual multicultural symposium is scheduled for Tuesday, June the 2nd. It is free for anyone who wants to come. Again, first come, first serve. The last date to RSVP is Friday. And so again, free multicultural symposium Tuesday, June the 2nd. We'll be there from 10 to 2 at Hodel's.
Yay, and I'm going to be there too. All right, so our next partner is Save a Life Today, also known as SALT, and they are a nonprofit organization that serves Kern County, California, raising crucial funds to reduce the rates of suicide, raise awareness about suicide prevention and mental health, and assist those bereaved by suicide. So Ellen, I think, was not able to make it today, but actually I know, Sharon, I just learned that you're on the board for that. So their walk is in September. I also have a team, so we got a lot to talk about, Dr. Judy.
Yes.
We're going to be very busy in the fall.
Yes.
I also want to thank EmpowerMend Wellness and Consulting. So that is Dr. Judy's group, which is a mental health group that is committed to helping individuals, couples, and families, as well as children and teens, those who need to heal, reconnect, creating lasting change. Their personalized, evidence-based, and trauma-informed approach provides compassionate therapy for anxiety, depression, trauma, relationship challenges, family issues. You guys really touch on everything. Services include individual therapy and telehealth for individuals in California, correct?
Yes, and families. We treat the whole family, couples, children.
Okay. And our next promotional partner is Shanti, Orange County. Dr. Fitzpatrick, I don't think was able to make it, but this is a healthcare and case management service organization in Orange County. And I do believe they also do virtual services. So they are focused on mental health, social services, and HIV/AIDS support. They offer a wide range of services tailored to individuals living with chronic disease, mental health needs, and those affected by social deterrents that make access to care harder. And our last promotional partner is I Am Woman, which is Reenie's organization that she mentioned, a faith-based ministry established in 2010, initially as a social media page. Classes started in 2014, enable and empower women to recognize their worth and value. They did start in Kern County, but became international by serving Bangladesh via Zoom. So follows principles that God has set in place to empower women. And it's a ministry for all people who come that are wounded, battered, feel hopeless, despair, guilt, depression, or learn helplessness. So I do want to check before we move forward if there were any questions in the chat box, Regina. I knew I checked a little bit earlier, and so we didn't pause because there weren't questions. Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions. We do have a few minutes, so if anyone in the audience does have any questions, please drop those. Our panelists here are amazing, all amazing. You don't understand how lucky I feel to have you guys all here. So if you have any questions for any of them, please drop them in the chat, but I will send you their contact information. Probably tomorrow morning. I'll send all the resources. I want to make sure I get everything from all of them that I want to get sent out to you. So we do have a few minutes. I do want to offer a last question here for each of you. So either maybe go back to one of the questions that I asked previous that you wanted to respond to. Maybe you want to respond to it now if I didn't get a chance to get to you. And if not, maybe just think about what's one key message that you want people to remember about mental health struggles and how we can support one another. So I will leave it open to whoever would like to respond first. Dr. Judy, looks like you're ready.
Okay, I don't want to jump the gun. So I did want to just touch a little bit on things that churches and that communities and things can do, and also I think it intertwines with this. So I believe that, like I said, I believe that we really have the power to save a life, our own and that of others, when we address and pay attention to those around us. And just simple, are you okay, can save a person from suicide, right? Paying attention to other people. So I know we have our stuff, we have our things going on, paying attention, but also understanding our limitation. A lot of times we experience what is called spiritual bypass. And we just pray about it. And I am a firm believer in prayer. Reenie, I'm right here with you.
Amen.
I believe it. God can do it. However, there is also sometimes we need professional help, right? So a lot of times people find themselves in a situation where they're having a conversation, they're supporting someone, and it's way out of their comfort zone. They don't know what to do, what to say. And that's okay. You can say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to say this. We get help together. Let's go find out about it. And I think that will be really, like, it can go a long way. Being open, again, accepting that space of vulnerability. And it really helps yourself, right? Being able to express yourself and also able to help other people. One last thing before, I don't want to hog up all the time. I just want to show like a little example. So if you take your hands and you put them together like this, and you look at whichever thumb is in front, then you switch your thumbs. It feels weird. It feels uncomfortable. We want to switch it back. And that small, tiny little shift created a whole reaction in our body. And that small, tiny little shift in how we think can create about mental health can create a big, overwhelming change in our own lives, and with our stress, anxiety, and our own mental health and that of others. So just wanted to give that illustration.
Just like a ripple effect.
Yes.
I saw that there was a question in the chat for Dr. Judy, so we will get back to that. Let's go ahead and give everyone else a minute or so to be able to answer the question. So between Reenie, Sharon, and Dr. LaChelle, if anyone wanted to jump in and either answer a previous question or a quick takeaway. Reenie, go ahead.
Okay. For me, because my son is diagnosed schizophrenic and he will have illusions and delusions at times. And his brothers, because they don't have, I believe, the education that they really need, might question what he's saying. The first thing I do is I tell my son, I believe you. I believe that you're seeing something. And he's more open to have a conversation about it. He'll say, I'll ask him, what are you actually seeing? I want you to know that you're safe. These are the ways I speak to him. And then he'll relax, he'll calm down. And, these are things that happen. It's like this, a roller coaster. At times it'd be, he'll be fine. You would never notice. And at other times it's a different story. But that's what I do.
Dr. LaChelle, did you have?
I was going to say something that a lot of people don't know about me is that I am actually faculty for the Solex University Doctor of Naturopathy program. And one of the things that I feel compelled to say is that oftentimes when it comes to mental things that we go through, we tend to think it's okay, I'm going to keep dealing with it. But we don't realize the impact that can have on our overall health and well-being. And so many of us are willing to go to the doctor when our knee hurts, or we're going to go to the doctor when our stomach is upset. But we're not always willing to go to the doctor or take care of ourselves when we need help up here. And so many of my clients come to me, and here's one example. All right. So I have a woman who has been chronically overweight, especially in her midsection. She is constantly sick all the time. She has pain everywhere. She's been told that she has arthritis. She's been told she has this or that. It's really chronic inflammation. And it's from the gut and the gut brain axis disruption and the chronic fight or flight and the cortisol release and just the chronic stress fight or flight situation that she's undergoing that has led to all of these physical ailments. And so I just want to say, stop poo-pooing what you need up here, because it's impacting your overall beautiful ability to live a vital life, and that you deserve to feel good. You deserve to look good. You deserve to give yourself the best chance to give yourself the best, most fulfilled life. And I just wanted to mention that I think that oftentimes we can say, well, I'll be fine. And then we allow ourselves to seek help for other things that seem more important, but it's all connected, you guys. And I wanted to just make sure that y'all understand that.
Thank you so much. I think, is Sharon back? I think we lost Sharon, but is she back?
She's in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. I thought I admitted her, but maybe, Regina, can you read the question for Dr. Judy? We could do that while we're reading for Sharon.
Can you provide insight on how one could navigate dealing with grief best?
So grief, I just spoke on this a few months ago at a conference, which was so beautiful.
I think that's where we met.
Yes, that is where we met. Grief is something that it's so personal and it's so difficult. And no two people, even when they lose someone in the same family, experience grief the same. It's very challenging because a lot of it has to do with our own view of life, how we understand situations, our relationship with the person. There's so many factors that are at play. A few things that I like to tell people is to understand that it's not something that you just get over, right? They say, "Oh, you're still crying about that." Yeah, because it hurts. And so understanding and having that grace for yourself to be able to go through your process, whatever that may be. For some people, it looks different for every person. Honoring the loss, right? Honoring what was lost, understanding the pain, hearing the pain that you have. In the beginning, it feels like this huge boulder that is on your shoulders that is just, it's never going to go away. And it's not necessarily that it goes away. It's just the reaction to that emotion, to that trigger. It feels less emotionally reactive, right? Where things that we would find ourselves crying just randomly or sporadically, and the experiences of shock, it lessens over time. Not that the pain goes away, our response to pain goes away. So understanding that the whole process of grief, right, and taking the time to heal that nervous system. Grief is neurological and it's also physical. It affects the
And
brain.
I was just going to say, I think I forgot to mention when I did your promotion, your
Mhm.
EmpowerMend as a promotional partner, there is a link on there for consultation, and that consultation is free, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that I'm going to send out those resources in that link to be able to make an appointment for a consultation for Dr. Judy's practice is on there, and your contact information as well. So I will definitely get. No, I wasn't trying to cut you off, but I just
Oh,
wanted to
no,
make
no, no, it's
sure
okay.
that I said that. But I do see that Sharon is back. Sharon, do you have a 1 minute takeaway that you wanted to share? I know we have another question in the chat. So if Sharon wants to take 1 minute for her key takeaway.
Yes, if I can share my screen while I'm talking, the one important thing that I want to share is this here, is that our mental health struggles, they don't define a person. No one should have to face these struggles alone. Every person, every challenge is different. Yes, we understand that. Our emotional pain is not a sign of weakness. Okay. Our failure, the lack of faith, it doesn't define who we are. What we need is support. We need understanding. We need connection. If I can share my screen, we need connection. And all of this here helps in an individual's healing and it gives them the hope that they need. And so, if we can be better people to do this, listen without judging, speaking with compassion, checking in with others consistently, encouraging individuals to get the help that they need, and just creating this space that they feel welcome to be able to discuss these hidden things that are in them. And so, if I can just say one powerful thing that we can say to individuals who are maybe experiencing some challenges, I'm here for you. I'm here to support you. And then just listen. I'm going to share my screen just real quickly, just to kind of, if I can, I cannot, but I'll send that to you, Dr. Andrea. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes, perfect. Okay. All right. So we have about a minute or two. And so I'm going to take the last question. Is there any information for protecting one's peace and healthy response for a family member who has bipolar disorder and lashes out? And so I'm going to again highlight NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. There is a national organization. So I believe it's NAMI.org. Is that right, Sharon? There might be a local one as well where you are. So I would suggest looking into that. But if nothing else, at least the national one has amazing resources and information. So I would start with that. They have free classes and a lot of free resources. So again, a reminder of our resources, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline for anyone who needs any sort of emotional support. It is available on a phone call as well as text. So I will be emailing information on our panelists, our promotional partners, and other additional resources. So I do want to close with a quote, and our theme today was voices that matter. So this is the one that really stood out to me. Don't ever let anyone tell you that your efforts don't matter, either that your voice doesn't count. Don't ever believe that you can't make a difference. You have. And by all of you being here today is making a difference because you're coming with an open mind and you're coming to learn. And that shows that you're going to be able to go out there and make a difference after this. So I definitely appreciate everyone being here, panelists and audience. So I want to thank everybody. But we are going to close with just a short prayer from Reenie. So if anyone would like to stay on and finish up with us on that, that'll be the last thing that'll close us out. So I'll turn it over to Reenie.
Thank you. So I just want to pray really quickly. Father, we come before you before your throne of grace to thank you for time and space to gather today, and for the technology that connects us, for the vulnerability and wisdom shared across this panel. Thank you for shining a light on mental health, healing, and recovery, for the strength found in community. As we log off and return to the rest of our day, we ask that you protect the minds and hearts of everyone present. Carry the seeds of hope planted here into the places that need them most. Grant us peace, grant us rest, and remind us continually that we are never walking alone. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reenie. So
You're
for
welcome.
all of the audience, I will send out resources tomorrow. If you do have any particular questions about anything specific, you're welcome to email me and I will look into that or ask a panelist and get that information from you. So I appreciate everyone joining. Thank you so much and have a good evening and have a good rest of the May Mental Health Awareness Month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give us just a second. Gino, I'm helping you. I think we're there. Oh, one. Okay. All right. Thank you, Gino.
And the recording.
Did you end recording?